Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Thank you for joining us on the program. As mentioned, Sam Webb is our special guest coming to us from Australia. She has always been fascinated by the ocean and its out-of-this-world creatures. A snorkeler, scuba diver, and wannabe marine biologist, the ocean and its wonderful creatures inspired her to write the fanciful tale we'll be talking about on today's program, Ocean Whirled. Sam Webb with us on This Week in America. Hi, Sam. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Rick. It's great to be here. Thank you.
It is our pleasure talking about the book Ocean Whirled. And this really is an excellent book. And it really goes back to what your passion of the sea and the creatures. In fact, I think when you were a child, a very young child, you walked into the ocean, just kept walking. Mom had to go get you and pull you back out. This really is a passion that goes back a number of years, isn't it?
That's exactly right, Rick. My mum was pretty freaked out because she's not a swimmer and just went straight on in. The wave went over my head and it just kept straight on going.
What was it about it that really got your attention as a child and has continued to do that? Because I mentioned, snorkeler, that you do a lot of outdoor water activities. What is it about the ocean, the water, that's so enchanting to you?
Well, I guess if you look at a science fiction movie, those sort of things have always fascinated me. But to me, the ocean is just like a science fiction movie. It's just so fascinating. The creatures are just, out of this world. So, and the more that you find, the more things you see there. It just gets more and more exciting the more you find and discover about it and learn about it.
Sam Webb is our guest on This Week in America. She's the author of the sci-fi fantasy Ocean Whirled. It's her first book. The book's available all across the country, all across the world, wherever you happen to be listening to this. Of course, Amazon, you can find it there. And Sam's website is samswebb, WEBB.com. It's an excellent website. Information on the book there as well. Let's talk about the book because it's quite evident as the story unfolds, your love for not only the ocean, but the creatures in it. This is your chance to really tell a very important story. It's a story that adds its thrills, but also has us thinking at the same time, doesn't it?
I hope so, Rick, because our ocean is so critical to our life, really. So we really all need to know what's going on there and know that we should be protecting the ocean a little bit more than we're doing now. And if each and every person can just do their little bit to help save the ocean, and if you learn about it and see how wonderful those creatures are and that they do have little personalities or big personalities depending on the creature, you would feel really warmed to want to look after that ocean, and it's only going to benefit us in the long run.
The book is called Ocean Whirled. It's available at Amazon. Information at Sam's website, samswebb.com, sammyswebb.com, and that's two B's. Information available by logging on to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Your love for the ocean and the creatures that we talked about, this love for writing also came about at an early age with your grandfather. Talk about his influence, when he used to read you poetry and got you excited, even at a young age, that I'd like to write something someday.
That's right. He would actually be able to quote Banjo Paterson, which is an Australian poet, verbatim himself. So as we'd be driving along somewhere together, he'd be very cheerily saying poetry, and that really got me intrigued. And some of the poetry he would say would be quite moving because it was quite sad, and you really get to understand the power of words and the power of that it has on a person, how it makes you feel. It can exhilarate you, it can make you feel sad, all of those emotions come in, and so we really are affected so much by words, Rick. So I really encourage anybody to, write a book if that's what you've got in you to do it. And I think everyone has a book in them. So it's a real great experience.
Yeah, and it took, I think, several years of the process to actually write the book. But this goes back, obviously, years when you've been thinking about this. The culmination is the book Ocean Whirled. Our guest on the program is Sam Webb. Sammy's Webb, WEBB.com, is the website for information. And again, you can link onto our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and get in touch with Sam. Let's talk about the plot for the book, because Things are really in chaos, aren't they, in the sea world, in the book Ocean World?
That's correct. In my book, in the fantasy side of it, there are creatures called the Nahame, and they're actually the carers of the ocean, and they have just about been made extinct by this alien race that's just devastating the ocean, eating everything and just ruining everything. So the Nahame have to fight back somehow, and that's the story of how they actually link with other creatures in the ocean as well as humans and some other fantastic creatures like dryads and water nymphs, that they all get together and fight for their ocean home. And then you have to read the book to find out how it all comes together in that
And it's
world.
worth the read. There are twists and turns as you go through. And again, as you're going through, you're thinking, I wonder if this is really what we're doing to the ocean. And in many cases, yes, it is. You've got one quote in there that all the ocean creatures used to live in symbiotic harmony. And when you read that, it sort of jumps out at you like, yeah, until we started messing around with them, it was a pretty good place for these creatures, wasn't it?
That's right. I mean, unfortunately, as humans, we've sort of basically raped and pillaged the ocean, and I'm hoping that even just by small things that people can think about, like plastic bags. Don't let your plastic bags go in the ocean, because to the poor old turtles, to pelicans, to lots of creatures, those bags look like a jellyfish. They eat them, and that's the end of them. They can't live once they've eaten a plastic bag. So even in every one of our lives, if we just did that one small thing, make sure our rubbish doesn't go in the ocean, we're doing a really good thing, and we're getting towards what we should be doing to look after our oceans.
The book is called Ocean's Whirled. Sam Webb is our guest on the program. The website is sammysweb.com. Information available by linking on to our website. You bring the characters to life. We have, as we're reading this, an emotional attachment to the characters. What type of research did you do in putting together the book?
Well, Rick, basically all my life I've studied the ocean, shells. I was a shell collector from a very little girl, read about conchology and, just read as much as I possibly can. As I said, I'm a bit of a wannabe marine biologist, never actually got there with life circumstances, but I've always studied the ocean, read up about it, watched documentaries. And then from my own experiences, from scuba diving, from snorkeling, some of my own experiences I've sort of integrated into the book, because that was really what happened. And, I can then relive it in my book. Yeah.
It's interesting, the inspiration that people have after reading the book. And I know that a friend who's a musician is actually composing a CD made up of music sort of in tribute to the book Ocean World.
That's correct, Rick. I've actually got that here. It's called Oceana, and Gary Russell Smith has written and composed this music, and that's going to be available soon. And what's interesting to me is that Gary read my book, but he's not normally a sci-fi fantasy reader at all. But when he did, he was actually inspired to write this music. And, that's what I'd like to be able to do for other people. Mightn't be writing music, but it might be an inspiration of some kind that they can feel closer to the ocean. Maybe even, take yourself out in a glass bottom boat and have a look at the creatures that are there, or just, write a story, or just be inspired in some way by my book. That is, everything to me.
Well, as I said, it's very emotional as you're rooting for the creatures there. You've given them personality. We're rooting for everybody to help on their side, including humans. It takes some help from human people, doesn't it, to try to hold off the problems, the chaos they're facing.
Yeah, that's right. And, there are obviously people in the world that are doing that already. There's lots of really good people out there that are making a big effort for the ocean. And so, let's more of us get on that bandwagon and look after what is inherently, going to help us in the long run anyway.
In reading the reviews, and the reviews have been excellent. One review, couldn't put it down, can't wait for the next. Two aspects of that. When you hear a reader saying, I can't put it down, you got to think, okay, I did my job properly. They are picking up the book and they're reading the book and they're really wrapped up in it. That has to be the ultimate compliment for a writer.
Oh, absolutely. And, that's what I hope it does. Maybe when people are reading it, that it just takes them away from their everyday worries and problems and puts them into a different world, and a world where they can, picture maybe themselves in it and become part of that, and, yeah, just be inspired by it.
And the second part of that was, I can't wait for the next. Other reviews are, I'm waiting for more from this author. Are we going to have more books from you?
Certainly, Rick. I've actually started on the sequel to Ocean World. As well as that, I've got a couple of children's books underway. So just getting a little bit more of the artistic side of those done, the drawings to go with them. So yeah, I'm hoping that I will have at least those children's books out this year. I think my sequel will probably take a little bit longer to put together. There's quite a bit more work involved in that, but yeah, certainly I'll have some more out there soon.
Well, that is good news for everybody. You're listening to This Week in America. Our guest on the program, coming to us via Skype from Australia, is Sam Webb. She's the author of the book Ocean World, a sci-fi fantasy. She is coming to us, as I say, from Australia. Her website is very simple to get to, sammyswebb, WEBB.com. Information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. One other review said, as I'm reading this, I see this as a movie. Is there any chance that we could see a video form of this at some point?
Well, I'd really like that to happen, Rick. I have already had a screenplay put together for it. And it's out there in a Hollywood database. So hopefully someone will be inspired by it and be able to visualize the creatures. And yeah, that's something that would be an ultimate dream for me if it happened, yeah.
Well, it is a great visual as you're reading the book, and the book is called Ocean World. Once again, Sam Webb is our guest on the program. That is the name of the book. It's interesting when you talk about the words and finding the right words to be descriptive. And as you talk to authors sometimes, that's a challenge. They'll go back a number of times and rework that sentence, that paragraph, maybe to make it a little bit more descriptive, take some of the words out. How difficult a process was that for you to get the right words? Because you got a great balance in the book Ocean World of description and moving the story along. Sometimes you can get too caught up in description where it's like slowing the story down. You've got that perfect balance. How difficult was it to achieve that?
Well, Rick, I think from other books that I've read, I try to learn from what I read as well, and I have some authors that I like. I really love Tolkien. George Martin, of course, is another wonderful writer. Anne McCaffrey, quite a number of others. But when I read those books, I'm reading them, enjoying the story, but I'm also learning from them. So I hope to be able to get that balance. But I've also had a couple of really good friends who've helped me with it. I'll send them a chapter and they'll come back to me and go, oh, no, we need a bit more description, or no, you've gone off on a tangent. So I've had a really good help from friends that have given me some good constructive criticism as I've gone along.
I mentioned it took several years once you actually started the process of writing the book Ocean World. Sam Webb, our guest on This Week in America. Her website is sammyswebb with 2b's.com. Once you started the process, how difficult was it when you got to that point where it's like, okay, I'm done with it? Because you talk to some people and they're like, they could go on another 5-10 years, going back and editing, and they're finally like, okay, I've got to end it now. I don't think it's going to get any better than this. Let's go ahead and do it. How difficult was it to get to the point where, okay, this is the finished product?
Look, I think I was really excited to get to that point. Rick, it was winding it up and going, wow, I can actually get this out there now, and hopefully I can get excitement from other people that want to read it, which has happened. And then, going to write the sequel, I think is that continuing process of excitement with the next part of the story, because yeah, I mean, you have to stop somewhere, otherwise you would just continue on forever. And I could have ended up with a book that was twice as thick, but I think it's good to maybe compartmentalize it.
And that's good because some people don't know how to do that, and they do suddenly end up with maybe an extra 100 pages in there. In fact, I hear stories where the editors will send it back and say, "Chop, this is way too long." So here's what I need to get the story done. I think I've told the story. We're going to move on, let people enjoy it, and I'll start working on the sequel. Our guest on This
Yeah.
Week in America today is Sam Webb. Of course, our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and you can log on and link on directly to Sam's website, which is Sammy's Web, WEBB.com. Get information on the book Ocean World. You have the characters that are really well drawn out. Did that start with an outline? How did that happen? Because your characters are aquatic creatures, and you have them very well drawn out in the program, in the book. Did that start with an outline?
Well, I really had the skeleton of a story in my head, and I had the end of the story, and then it was a matter of really putting myself into each character and really filling out the skeleton. So you've got your basic story there, but then how does each character interact with that story? And if this character ends up doing this, how's that going to affect all the others? So I basically, as I wrote, lived in each character's skin and tried to feel how they would feel and just work with that one character at a time. And then, yeah, it just sort of interweaves and the story tends to get momentum itself and pull you along with it. It's great.
It does, and the book is Ocean World. A few minutes left in the program. Sam Webb is our guest on the program, the author of the book. Her website is sammysweb.com. Book available at Amazon. I mentioned some of the reviews and some of the kind things that people said. What kind of response are you getting? You hearing directly from people who have read the book. What kind of feedback are you getting?
Well, Rick, just last weekend I actually did a local seaside festival and promoted my book there. And I actually had some people come back. I was handing out free bookmarks just to promote it and get to talk to people. And I had a lady come back and go, "You're a kindred spirit. I love the ocean. I just got to read your book." So, when you get that kind of feedback from people, it's just really upbuilding and wonderful. And a lot of people who, even that didn't buy my book that I spoke to, that I was encouraging them to think about the ocean, they all were very, very positive and saying, "You've done a good thing. This is a really good idea." So, I felt really encouraged by that. It was a great weekend that I did.
The book is a sci-fi fantasy. It's called Ocean World, and you have done an excellent job of telling a very entertaining story while leaving a message at the same time. You've seen the ocean. You walked in the ocean when you're 4 years old, and you see the condition it's in now. Are you optimistic that we can turn things around in how we care for the ocean?
I am optimistic, Rick, but I do believe that we need to get that message out to a lot more people. And if everybody just does a small thing, then I do believe that we can turn it around, because the ocean has an amazing healing capacity of its own, but we really need to help it along because we've done so much damage already, unfortunately.
Well, that's interesting. I mentioned your love in the beginning with snorkeling and kayaking, scuba diving, that type of thing. Is that where you like to go when it's like, okay, the pressures now we're starting to build around me? I'm just going to go sort of escape and enjoy what's there. Is that like an escape for you, a refuge?
Absolutely. In my past, I was working in a very busy job, and I spent a lot of time on the phone. And let me tell you, when you scuba dive, it's just absolute peace. The only noise you can hear is the bubbles from your own breathing, and you're just in a different world. And it's calming and surprising and exhilarating. So, yeah, that's a real thing. But even now, just to walk down and walk on the beach and watch the waves, those, just the waves coming in and just hearing them just sort of lap against the shore is just, it's a very wonderful experience. And encourage anyone, if you're feeling a bit stressed, just go to the ocean or put on a nice CD like this one.
Well, yes.
and just relax.
Oceana is the name of that CD, and information, of course, available at the website. And I mentioned before that a lot of stories and poems and great interesting articles on the website, Sammy's Web, WEBB.com, two B's, sammysweb.com. The book is called Ocean World, a sci-fi fantasy, the underwater world on the verge of destruction and chaos. It is entirely an entertaining book, twists and turns along the way. You're going to enjoy reading it. Sam Webb is the author, our guest in the program. Again, the book is called Ocean World. Sam, thank you for joining us on the program. Excellent job. We'll keep in touch and bring you back and kick off the second book when you get it done.
Thanks so much, Rick. It's been a great experience. Thank you.
It is our pleasure. Once again, the book is Ocean World. The website, sammysweb with two B's.com. You're listening to This Week in America. Our website, thisweekinamerica.us.